all done? Like, did you all get like in the page 3? Okay, so let's start the conversation. So like, how different is this like lecture delivery from a narrated slide from your own experience? Yes?
I like this better than a narrated slide because I felt like it was more at my pace. Like the narrated slide was a pause video, but this was very
Okay. Yes?
Because, Aurelie, because you have some of the interactions back in, it makes you slow down, think about what you're doing, and kind of get a chance to absorb a little bit more differently than I would if I were reading a lecture.
Exactly. How did I slow you down?
With the pop-ups.
With the pop-ups? Okay. Question? What was like unique about the question? Yes, exactly. And as you can see, like I force you to stop because you could not go to the next slide unless you got the correct answer. What else? What you found interesting about like this approach? Yes?
Going to that video on the first page is my choice. Like I could choose to skip it or I could choose to do it, and a narrated slide would probably really try to more force me to do it.
Yes, exactly. Like and indeed, this is a correct point. Like other ideas?
Although it was a choice, because it was such a good video, I felt like, oh, I made the right choice by clicking on it and seeing it. It was not a boring video.
And indeed, like that video was just like to introduce the topic of plant pathology, but it was not really exactly related to the disease triangle concept that I want you to learn about. But like that's one of the additions. Indeed, like you can pick or choose. But as you're going to see, like in the next few slides of the CSCR, there are videos where I'm forcing them to watch them because following that there will be a quiz. And only if you got the quiz correctly, then you can move on to the next page. So it's like what I wanted to show is like where like my insight on like the CSCR. So it's like one key thing is like you didn't hear my voice. That's one of the things of the CSCR that is not literally narrated. And like and also like instead of sitting and listening, I felt like the student must be interacting with the screen through clicks. Kind of like the only way you can move on to the next page is like you click on the next page button. So it's like which topic work well with the CSCR for me? So I've used CSCR for only 3 topics out of 26. So the reason why is like I like the CSCR when the content is very short, and also like it's focused on like definition or key concept. It's for example, if it was about me talking about the Irish potato famine, this is a story that I'm talking about. Like before landing into what was the disease, there is an entire story starting from St. Nicholas who make all of the Irish people Catholic. And it would have been like too long if I were to describe all of those in the CSCR. So in those cases, I will be using narrated slide. And also, like, as you can imagine, my voice get overexcited sometimes in certain topics, so I like the student to hear that, like, oh my God, did you realize this? And this, I cannot like go through that. So it's like, as you mentioned when I say like a key concept, if you were to click on those like 3 different links, you're going to see like a definition and like very quick 1 sentence so the student can understand what I'm talking about. So it's like one of the ideas, like how do I keep the student engaged with the material? And as I mentioned, I really literally force the student to stop and think. Literally, as I told you, like you need to answer this answer correctly before being able like to move forward. But what was interesting, and I hope that you're able to sense that, is like you get an instant feedback. So if you were to click the wrong answer, I don't know if you all get the correct one, meaning that you're ready to take my class. It's like, but like if you were to click on the wrong one, what you get? It's correct, but you need additional factor, and automatically like you can move on to like when you get the correct one, and then you can see the next page button. What was really interesting for this slide is like, as I told you, the student just learned about the outbreak of the Irish potato famine. Now I want them to start thinking about the disease triangle, but they have no idea about that. It's why, even before I introduce them the topic of the disease triangle, I ask them this question to make them think, to make them be ready to look at like what indeed is going to be the next slide. The disease triangle is due to that you need a pathogen, you need a susceptible host, and you need the perfect environment. And so then it would have been much easier for them to understand what was coming up. So it's like one of the key things about like what I wanted to mention is like, how about instructor present? Did you feel my presence in those first 3 slides? No, exactly. Like, but like you went through only like 3 pages, but there are several pages. So it's like one way I simulate like discussion. How do I do that? I use a bubble speech, like, and I say, oh, did you know about this? And like in different slides, I use certain variation. Another way to make instructor presence is like the verb that I use. I normally use like active verb, like watch this, or like answer like this question. And this is the case where of a video that like they have to watch this video. After watching this video, they need to be ready to answer the question. The only way that they can answer the question is that they watched the video. And only after they watch the video and they answer the question, then they will be able to move on to the next slide. So in a way that like I'm literally inserting assessment tool at different time points to make sure that the students are all on the same page and they're able to understand like the material. So, and also like, I haven't been quizzed, like none of those quizzes are graded, by the way. Maybe it's because I'm using D2L, but supposedly you'll be able to do that with Moodle. But like sometimes it's like I do some self-check, meaning that like it's not a quiz. They can take it, they cannot take it. But like no matter which answer they pick, they're always going to have like a feedback. And like, oh, did you pick like the dry warm condition? And then you realize like, no, this is wrong, and they will understand why. And I will tell them, go back to this slide, and like they can move around. So it's like, how did it work for the student? So it's like I had like an RLB approved for this topic, and what I did is like, we asked the student like how effective were the following lectures in learning the overall course content. So this is different topic: large potato farming, evolution by natural selection, the control of disease, and like disease triangle. And in red are the ones that like were delivered as CSCR. The other one were all delivered by narrated slides. So I just wanted to see, did the CSCR work, or are they able to see a different way when it's a narrated slide? And as you can see from the grading, like from very effective to effective, there is no major difference whether I was delivering via CSCR or I was delivering the lecture content like through a narrated slide. So like this is where my PowerPoint ends. So what I will do next, well, at the moment it's like I will be moving this class completely online. So it's like in addition to the lab session, that's my big goal. But like some of the do or don'ts or something that I learned from the CSCR, I like it. So be ready on that. It's nice, cool. It's frustrating. That's the reality. Why it was frustrating? Because some of the things, the links, somehow it was not working, because it was very easy for you to click next, oh, here. But when you are the creator of that, you need to think carefully, like, okay, after they click here, to which page I want them to go to, and that was creating frustration. And like, so I think like in the active sheet that you have, you're going to experience yourself like, oh, let's get into the CSCR. And I think you're going to be tweaking a CSCR page that has already been built. But if you were to build it from scratch, my advice to you, do not jump on the CSCR tool right away. Prepare your lecture on the PowerPoint, because from the PowerPoint, at least you already know the content that you want to cover, what are the topics that you want to cover, how you want to cover it. Then you move on to the CSCR and you plug in everything one by one. Why don't try the other way? Why? Is because the CSCR can be already complicated by itself to move, to create a child page, a button. And imagine if you still have to create also your lecture on there, you're going to give up right away. Was it easy? Was it fast? I have to admit, like narrated slide was much faster, because like I'm in front of a microphone, I have my script ready, and I read it, and I use my voice, And then like I ask the doer to clean it up and like make sound effect or whatever it is, and then we move on. With the CSCR, it took some time investment for you to be familiar with the tool, to understand what you wanted to do, and then finally you get a product. Do I regret it? No, it was a very interesting approach. Will I use it for all of my lecture? No. It's always good as another alternative. So this is what I have.
Any questions for Aurelie?
Yes?
So you said you wouldn't use this for all of your lectures. How do you identify the lecture material that would be better suited
I mentioned, like I've been using like the CSCR for when it's all about definition or like key concepts, but like that are straightforward. And then so it's much easier for them just to move from one slide to the other and like read those definition and like this is it. So it's like another one that I used like for CSCR was the control of plant diseases. What is it? It's like there's 5 management approaches if you want to control diseases. So you go one by one, approach 2, approach 3. And this is one of those like lecture where even when I'm standing and talking to my student, I'm bored about those lectures because they are just like literally like a key concept, okay? You need to do culture practice. Don't like do rotation, grow corn today and the next day grow wheat. So it's like, it's just facts. So it's like, then it's much easier for me to use a CSCR over that. Because one thing about narrated slide, the last thing that I want is like to imagine the student falling asleep. And this like control of disease, it makes me fall asleep, even myself. So I cannot imagine the student. So let's then go with the CSCR, move, as you mentioned, like you can control when you move on to the next slide and then you can pause, digest the material and then like